Hi, this is Brent with Studio One Expert, and in this second video of this free 4-part series looking at the Content Creator Toolkit from Waves, we're going to be looking at the Greg Wells VoiceCentric plugin. What the VoiceCentric plugin does is three things underneath this one knob. It EQs, which means that it will high pass a vocal so that you don't have any of the low end information and rumble on a vocal track, which is not necessary. And it'll also do some general cleanup that's built into and baked into this plugin. It also has a de-esser platform in here, and what that means is it removes any sibilance from a vocal so that it's not harsh on a playback system. And finally, it also has a compressor built in to level out the peaks of an audio signal, meaning that it's just easier on the ears and it's more consistent. So with all that said, let's have a listen to these tracks with the VoiceCentric bypassed and enabled. And again, just like the previous video with the NS1, we only have one control here. We do have these other controls, delay, doubler, and reverb, but if you're using this specifically for voiceover podcasts, you're not going to want to touch these because these are more of creative effects. So let's just focus on this one knob in the center here. Do you think it's easier to learn compression if you look at different things like LA2A, 1176, Fairchild, and so on? So as you can hear there was an increase in the presence on the voice, and that's really important so that it cuts through, especially when there's other tracks there. And obviously this is going to be listened to on different playback systems, not just your headphones, your speakers. So let's have another listen to what this is doing if we just loop this section and then bypass and engage the plugin. Do you think it's easier to learn compression if you look at different things like LA2A, 1176, so at full there, Fairchild, and so on? Yep. Do you think it's easier to learn compression if you look at different... So there's a real lift in the presence, and it's a lot more dynamic, but consistently dynamic. Do you think it's easier to learn compression if you look at different things like LA2A, 1176? Okay, now let's move on to this second track here, because this second track is definitely in more need of the VoiceCentric than the first track. And the reason is it had a lot of noise from stuff like what sounded like a radio, and also a lot of reverb in the room. So we've already suppressed it with the NS1 in the last video. Now we're going to use the VoiceCentric to try and bring out some more presence, compression, and de-esser the vocal where it's a little bit sibilant and harsh. Yep, exactly that. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, you could technically do it with whatever type of compressor you would want to use. Yep, exactly that. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, you could technically do it with whatever type of compressor you would want to use. So as we can hear, it's just leveling out the peaks there, and it's actually bringing up the volume more so than leveling out there actually, and it's giving it just a little bit of EQ. And finally, on this last channel here, you get the idea now. This is an incredibly simple plugin, as well as everything else in this audio toolkit. We're just going to do exactly the same move.
You should talk about different ways that you can learn these skills and apply them in real world situations rather than learning how. You should learn why. So
what we can hear there is that this was a Skype recording, and what happens on Skype is you often have the audio sort of ducking, and it sounds like it's sucking the vocal, and it's really difficult to have dynamics and presence from it. So sometimes it's really hard to hear the intelligibility of a vocal over a Skype record, but with the VoiceCentric, we're able to make it a lot more consistent, as you can hear.
I agree, but also I think that you should talk about different ways that you can learn these skills and apply them in real world situations rather than learning how. You should learn why.
So that's the Greg Wells VoiceCentric, and I'll see you in part 3 where we look at Playlist Writer.